What's up, hybrids? Welcome back to another episode of the Fandom Hybrid Podcast. This is Hanako, and I am here with Michelle, and we are discussing
Hello.
Outlander, episode 4 of season 7, A Most Uncomfortable Woman. And let's go ahead and talk about that most uncomfortable woman because I think that was the funniest part of the whole episode. Claire and Jamie are in town. She has gone to get supplies and someone bumps into her and she was like, "Excuse me." And it's Tom Christie. And she's looking at him with surprise because she thinks he's already dead. And he's looking at her with surprise. And he plants a huge kiss on her face. And girl, I was like, I can't wait to hear what Michelle got to say.
But it was it was hilarious to me because she did a great job acting that out because the look on her face.
Her facial expressions had me rolling. Oh my God, it was so funny because I was kind of looking the same way too, because it was like he just
Planted a kiss on her. And we had just talked about before about him not giving her a hug, when he risked his life and for her. But I was like, man, he
was confused because I was like, what the hell? And then when he talks about the fact that he thought that she was dead because he
it
had
makes
been
sense.
told of the house fire. So it was so he actually had put the obituary in the paper once he found out. So that kind of narrows down, at least that tells us what year that obituary was written, because he found out after the fire, months after the fire, because, when we last saw Tom Christie, he had surrendered himself, confessing to his daughter's murder, which we now know he didn't commit, but he didn't know that at the time.
He didn't know that.
He confessed because he wanted to save Claire because he was in love with her. So we're expecting that he's going to be, hung, executed, whatever, for murder. Turns out, because he's an educated man and he was able to write, the governor started using him as a secretary. And then because of everything that's going on, he ended up being freed, let go. And that's how he came to be walking around. But it was so funny because for him to be able to express that, and then he really was looking like, okay, yes, I just did this and I have no regrets at all. And he was like, oh, so your husband is alive too? Oh, okay. And he's just still sitting there just looking at her like, she's here. She's
Right. He
alive.
just was excited that she was alive. But it was, at first, I also thought, okay, is this a dream? Is Claire having a dream? But then when I realized it was real, I'm like, this man really planted that big one on her. And she's still looking like,
she was like,
did he
now,
really do that?
he's lucky Jamie didn't come out of somewhere and see that. But it's playing in the background right now. Her face, she's just looking like, what the hell just happened? He was like, oh, I beg your pardon. But he still looked like, I don't regret it at all. Like, this is a man who was in love with a woman who was clearly in love with another man. He probably thought he'd never get the opportunity to kiss her. So now that he has, he's probably like, okay, you know what? I don't regret that at all. Yes, I'm happy you're alive, but I don't regret that at all. But I always wondered how they were going to do that, especially with the way that they kind of sort of tied off his story a couple of episodes ago. But remember, I was saying that there was something she had said in an episode, and I think it was during her voiceover where she said it seemed like Tom Christie was dead or something like that. And I was like, something tells me they're going to bring him back. I don't think they've written him out yet. So I'm glad because, again, we talked about a few episodes ago with the start of the 7th season, how it looked like they are actually tying off some of these storylines and not letting them stay open, not letting them linger. So I'm glad that he was able to come back and she and him were able to have an actual conversation, and he was able to confess how he felt to her, like not in the moment now because there's no danger, so you can actually be very frank about your feelings, but you can put it all out there. She can put what she has to say out there, and you have closure for both, for both characters. And then he's now up, he's gone. And now I think we're finished with seeing him because I don't think book wise, I don't recall him playing another, any other part
Okay.
in their story. But of course, I've only gotten to a certain point, but
Mm-hmm.
I don't recall hearing him being involved in anything. So I think now we are finally done with the Christie story. And
Okay.
even though the story for Alan and Malva didn't end in a favorable way for either of them, I'm glad that at least for Tom, he has some kind of peace now, I feel like, you know.
Yes. Yes, I don't know why I'm saying this when I wanted that man to fall off a horse and die. Okay, so I am glad that he is alive
Mm-hmm.
and hopefully he can make a few changes about his judgment of other people. However, he was going to sacrifice himself knowing that he didn't commit the crime, but knowing that Claire didn't commit the crime. So he gets a pass, and I'm glad he's not going to have to die for it.
Yeah.
And he got his one kiss that's going to, take
That's
him to
going
his grave.
to take him through everything.
Yes.
It's going to sustain
Yes.
him.
I mean, he just looks so light sitting at that table with her. He just seems so light and,
Mm-hmm.
happy.
Right. But here's the thing. So this was the thing that was interesting to me about what he told her and when they discussed the fire and everything. So he says someone from Fraser's Ridge gave him the news of the fire. I'm like, so I realized everyone from Fraser's Ridge didn't come to the big house to help with the, help put out the
Right.
fire.
Mm-hmm.
But it makes no sense that someone would give him the news and make him think that Claire and Jamie are dead when they clearly wasn't dead. Like literally, they sat there and tried to put the fire out. They were there,
It had to be someone who
sorting.
wasn't there that heard about the fire and just assumed that they were dead.
But you would think even if that's the case, that fire would have been a topic of gossip. So you would think that somebody else in Fraser's Ridge, if he would have said, "Oh, um, Mr. Fraser and Miss Fraser are died, are dead," and somebody else would be like, "No, they're not dead." Because I mean, they had a whole funeral for Mrs. Bug where they both were there. She sang in the
Correct.
processional. So it's like, why would someone say, or maybe that was just what he interpreted once they said, "Oh, it was a big fire, the house burnt
And he
down,"
didn't ask any questions. And
and they
then the
probably
person
didn't
wasn't giving
volunteer.
any extra details about it because it could be someone who heard about the fire, but who's from Fraser Ridge who then told him and didn't give him any details. And he just assumed that they were dead.
Yeah, that, because other than that, it doesn't make sense.
Because he's not a talkative man. So he's not going to get into the meat of things and say, well, who was there and what happened and
Right.
the big house burned down.
Mm-hmm. And then for him to place an obituary, he could have placed that obituary anywhere. And if he didn't go back to Fraser's Ridge, which he said he did not do,
Mm-hmm.
he, I guess that would be the thing for him. If he had gone back to Fraser's Ridge, someone would have told him that Jamie and Claire were alive.
Mm-hmm.
Lizzie could have told him, one of the twins could have told him, somebody would have been there to be like, "Oh no, they're okay." But he didn't go back to the ridge because his family is not there. You know, I doubt that she told him about Alan and what he confessed, because then she would have to like answer where he is. So I think she probably just let that
No, and
go.
then you do you really want to tell a father what the son did and
Yeah.
even done to even though it's not your daughter, but do you really want to what he did
No.
to his sister?
No.
No, that's not a conversation I would want to have.
Mm-mm.
And especially when this man is sitting across from you happy.
Right. Yeah. Just let him have his happiness and let him go wherever it is he's gonna go now, because he's obviously not going back to Fraser's Ridge now. Like, I don't think, because because you know that he knows that Claire is going to tell Jamie about what happened.
Mm-hmm.
And even though he did it spur of the moment, not meaning any disrespect, I don't think he would go back to the Ridge, just because when and if Jamie and Claire ever go back, he wouldn't want to have to look at Jamie in the face.
And the thing is, Jamie just gonna look at him with sympathy, because that's how he feels. Even when she said, did you tell him how I felt, about you or whatnot? He's like, yeah, but he understands how, about loving me.
Yeah.
So, and then he thought it was funny. See, because he's secure in this relationship, you can
Very
tell.
much so.
Because he would making jokes on her. But then she wouldn't answer the question. Did you like it? Well, honey, did you like it or not? Because you won't answer my question.
No.
No. Okay, because if not, I will have to feel some type of way about it. But
you kind of have to wonder, because after they're having that conversation, that's when she and Jamie finally get down to the nitty gritty. And I was laughing the whole time I was watching this scene, because when we had the conversation in the last episode and you were talking about the lack of physical intimacy between them, I had to kind of I had to fumble around for an answer, because I couldn't tell you that was coming up because you hadn't seen the episode yet. So I was like, well, with Jamie and Claire, we don't really need to see the physical intimacy to know how close they are. And I was like, but we get it all in the next episode.
yes, we did. Because is this where, yeah, because, he was feeling some type of way. Ooh, another man want my wife. But is this where he started talking about all the things that she has done to him?
Yes, I think this is. Yeah. Yeah. Because it was one of those, I
Yeah,
don't
you
know.
had a knife to me one time.
Yes. Yes. So when he's saying all of that, I was just like, yeah, there's no dampening of the physical attraction
Yeah.
right there between them. But I
Mm-hmm.
love their scenes, because you have some of their intimacy scenes where they are so serious, and then you have the ones like these that are so silly but still so serious. So
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, okay, well, we do get to see that they can still enjoy those types of things at their age. Oh, and I did look it up. So technically speaking, Claire is 61 at this time,
Okay.
because
Okay.
when she first went back to 1743, she was 27 years old. So if you do the
Okay.
math, around this time, depending on what year this is, I think this should be around, I think, 77. She should be 61. So we do get to see at
Yeah.
61, and Jamie, that will make Jamie 57. They can still have a little fun.
Right. And then he reminded us when the lady had said she'll come into her full power when she has a head full of white hair. So he's like, ooh, what's to come? Yes, this is the scene when he talked about you clawing me, you had a knife to me. I'm like, you know what? I
Like,
love it.
y'all like that rough stuff. Okay.
Right. You stabbed me once.
But when he was talking about you stabbed me in the butt with one of your, what was this, the
Uh-huh.
syringe, she was like, well, you deserved it. But it's nice to see them have some lightheartedness for
Yeah, it is. That's what really, yeah. And
because this episode is not necessarily, I won't say it's a rough episode, but they're in the process of trying to get to Scotland. They stop into a town to pick up supplies, and they see Mr. I think it's his name is Hartnett from the Sons of Liberty. And he sees Jamie, and he starts talking to Jamie about, oh, are you here to join the cause? And Jamie's like, no, my wife and I have some personal business to attend in Scotland. I do plan on joining the war effort, once I come back, but we have to do that. This dude basically forces Jamie to sign up to lead militia for this war. Talking about, oh, well, I think your personal business in Scotland can wait. Who asked you? For an emergency, it's already bad enough that by boat it's going to take them months to get to Scotland. You got the nerve to say, oh, your personal business can wait. How do you know?
Right, you don't know what I'm doing.
Girl, I was so mad. And then, like Jamie said, he was like, I saved your life. You saved my life so I can fight another day. Well, today is that day. Today is the day for you so you can fight another day. Say shit about wanting to fight another day.
Right. I'm going back home.
I was so mad when I was like, you know what? I said, y'all gonna learn at some point. Y'all are gonna stop trying to force Jamie Fraser to do shit. Because one of these days it's gonna bite you in the ass.
Mm-hmm.
Because now he knows you don't have no loyalty to him. You want him because you know who he is. You know he can command people. You know he's one of those men that can get people to come on his side and to fight. And you're using him for that purpose, which, yeah, y'all going to war. You need people. I understand that. But even to the point where you're like almost blackmailing him. Oh, okay. Well, if you're not going to do this, I can conscript somebody else to come in your place. So who's going to come in your place? You. Ugh. I was so mad. I was like, golly, that
Yeah, I
you're
was
gonna
too
get
because I'm like, oh, here we go. So he's not going home. Ian's
right.
not going home.
Can't catch
Oh
a break.
no.
And then
Even though at the end I was like, well, I see possibilities for Ian, but we'll talk about that in a minute. So, but yeah, I was like, okay, here we go, back into the war again.
right. And then not only just him, but of course Claire is like, okay, well,
Well, she ain't going
y'all are,
nowhere.
yeah, y'all are gonna need doctors, so I'll join you. And then Ian is like, yeah, so I'm gonna join too. And Jamie was like, no, I promised your mother I was gonna bring you home. You need to go home. And Ian is like, this, I love this land. I want to fight for it.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you think about it, Ian has probably spent just as much time in the Americas as he has in Scotland. I don't remember exactly at this point how many years it's been, but let's see. I would assume Jeremiah is at this point, he's probably like 8, 9, maybe, because Mandy looks like she could be about 4, 5
Mm-hmm.
ish. Well, they were talking about her going to school, so she's got to be about 5, maybe. So yeah, Ian has probably been in the Americas for almost as long as he was in Scotland.
And you got to remember he has emotional tie
Mm-hmm.
to the place. So, you know, his first wife, that didn't work out.
Mm-hmm.
You,
His
you
child
know,
is buried there.
buried here.
Mm-hmm.
So, right. He's a
Right.
part of the land. So for him, this is home too.
Mm-hmm.
And he not gonna leave his aunt and uncle
He's not gonna leave Jamie.
when
Like
there's a war.
him and Jamie are bound for life. And
Right.
I love the part in this episode where, at the beginning of the episode, we start out with Roger and Brianna at Lallybroch. They've
Mm-hmm.
been there for 2 years now, and they've been renovating it. And when they're talking to the contractor is like, I'm glad you guys are trying to keep the original this, that, and the other. He was like, but are you sure you're not going to let me patch that slash at the top of the stairs, because it looks unsightly? And it's the slash where the British soldiers came through the house the day that Ian was born, looking for who you remember Fergus, he
Mm-hmm.
shot off the gun. So they were looking for the gun, and they were going through the house, and they were just being assholes, because they are, and they slashed that portrait up there. I was like, that's a cute little throwback, because that was when Ian was born. Jamie had him in his arms in that bedroom across the way, trying to make sure that the British didn't find him, because he
Right.
was the Dunbonnet at the time and he was wanted. So I was like, oh, I like the way that they kind of tied, Jamie and Ian's past to Brianna and Roger's present or future, however you want to look at it. I like the fact that you have those little ties that bind them, even though
Yeah,
Brianna and Roger are completely in, you know, different
another
time
time.
periods.
But
Yeah.
I love it too because it's like everything that happens, I'm like, how does it relate
Mm-hmm.
to the past?
Mm-hmm.
So
Just like that little, in the opening credits, they always show scenes from episodes. They showed the thing about the desk, where somebody was pulling the covers off the desk. So I was like, okay, so what desk is that? I'm trying to remember if there was a desk that was in the first season or in maybe, let's see, not the first season. Yeah. Yeah, Jamie did go back to Scotland. Was that the first season or no? Wait.
mm-mm.
No, it was. So I was trying to figure out, I was like, okay, so this desk is going to be important at some point. But I like, again, seeing how that's going to tie together,
Mhm.
because even though they have the chest from Jamie and Claire, we haven't really seen them mess with it. We definitely didn't see them mess with it this episode.
No, he just had the mullet. That's all he had, and he was like rubbing it and was like, "Huh,
Yeah, why is this coming out? He was like, oh wait, this is
it's
gold.
gold." Yes, and then here we go again.
I knew you was about to say that. When they did that in the episode, when he was talking about the gold and he showed it to Brianna, and she was like, or he was like, do you think we should ask Jeremiah
And again,
about
I
that?
said, "Go ask your child. He's
I
getting too
know,
old for this."
I know.
Because by the time he's 16, he's gonna be like, "I don't even know what you're talking about anymore. I can't even find
Oh,
it for you."
I kind of feel like Jimmy, even though he's living in this time now, I feel like he's still holding on to like the memories of his
Yes,
granddad. So
he is,
I don't
but
I
it's
don't think
just.
it'll I don't
But
think he'll
still,
forget it.
ask him now because
I
he could
know.
he can show you a little bit better when y'all go where the
This is
gold is.
this is true. Because you're in the they're in the 1980s now
Hmm.
there. So of course things will have changed, because even when they came through the stones at Ocracoke, Ocracoke in the past had all of the trees. It was a full river. And then when they
Hmm.
came through the stones and they were walking, the river had all but dried up. So we don't know
So
what other changes have happened in that part of North Carolina. There
right,
might have been uh stuff torn down, construction. Now I know there's not too much you're gonna do to get rid of a cave, but
yes, it's not
still,
much, and
it's
but
gonna
depending
change
on
the
what area
landscape.
is, if it's a hike, they'll be okay. But there's a subdivision somewhere around there, or some cabins.
Yeah, but
Like
I
how we like
mean,
to go to the cabins, but that's it.
yeah, but the landscape around it is gonna change. So
It
that'll
should.
be different for him. He won't know,
You
like,
won't know, like, oh my goodness, this is so. Ask the child.
I can
Don't
hear that
think
in my
about it.
head. When I saw it, I said, "Oh, Michelle's gonna be like, yes, ask him."
Yes,
Oh,
I'm thinking, oh,
Brianna.
this is where they're gonna call him in. They're worried about some biscuits missing. No, let's find out about this gold.
Okay, and so that's the other thing, because Jimmy is talking about this Knucklevi,
Mm-hmm.
and he says that they've been seeing someone or something, and this thing threatened to hurt Mandy if he said anything about it. And I was like, so in the books, when I was reading, I was up to the part about the Knuckle V, and that's what I was talking to you about when I said there's something going on where Jimmy and Mandy keep coming across like a spirit or a person there, but I never found out who or what that thing was. I didn't
Okay.
get that far. So now we're at a point in the show where I'm complete, like I have no idea what's going on completely. So I'm
Yeah,
curious too, like,
I don't know if it's a spirit or a person. I'm feeling like if he eating the biscuits or she eating the biscuits, it
it's
has
got
to
to be
be
a
a
person.
physical. Yeah, it gotta be a physical being.
But I'm like,
Cause
So
the spirit is not gonna want to eat some
no,
crisp and biscuits with honey.
no. But it does call the
But
question,
who?
yeah, like who? Like, is it somebody who has ties to Jamie's family, or is it somebody who has ties to Roger? Could it be another traveler who knows about them and is like, I don't know. It's
I don't
like,
know. I want it to be one of those three things though. I don't want it to be like a complete stranger that has no point.
no.
I want it to be someone connected to the family.
Hmm. It has to be. It would be
So
really.
I'll take a traveler. I'll take a relative.
Hmm. See, I had thought at first, I was like, maybe it could be like one of them traveling through time or whatever, like
Mm-hmm.
you know how you see sometimes you'll see somebody seeing a version of themselves. But even if it was, let's say, Roger traveling back from some other time or whatever, I don't think that he would threaten the kids.
No, he
I was
wouldn't
like,
have.
it's not him.
No. So,
I
mm-mm.
definitely don't think it would be Bree or Claire, because
But you know what?
I feel
Roger
like,
would do it if he's thinking about. See, this is where other time travel movies get played in my head
right.
about the paradox, and you don't want the paradox to
Hmm.
happen. So the only way for the kids not to say, "Daddy, it's you eating the biscuits," is
Hmm.
to threaten them and say, "Don't say anything about me," because.
But
But
I
it's
don't think
not.
he
It's
would
not
say,
Roger. It's not
yeah,
Roger.
he wouldn't
It,
say, I'll hurt Mandy if you say something. He wouldn't do that. And then, like you said, Jim would recognize if it was his father.
Right, that's what I'm saying. So it can't be the immediate family. So it has to be like a relative. Because at this point, and you'll be able to help me. So where's Jamie's sister's kids besides Ian? Like, where's their great grandkids? Like, where are the rest of the family? Are they spread out? I mean, I don't know.
They
'Cause
could
did they talk
be.
about it in the books at all?
Not that I know. I haven't gotten that
Like
far.
where they are?
Mm-mm.
Like, are they in America or moved?
Yeah, because you got to think like, well, so I remember back in season 2 or 3, had to be 2. It was before Jamie sent Claire back. He signed the deed. Matter of fact, was it Ian that he signed the deed over to? You remember right before the Battle of Culloden, Jamie and Claire went to sign over the deed of Lallybroch. That way, when he died, Lallybroch would stay safe. Or I think it was before.
He did. I remember it, but who? I think it was Ian. I'm thinking.
So if that was the case, Ian's children, if they did go back to Scotland, if he had children, we don't know what's going on. We do know that there's a little flirtation with him and Miss Hunter. But is that enough to result in a marriage? And if so, if Ian decided to go back to Scotland, would she have gone with him? I
Right.
have no idea about these
Right. We
characters.
have no idea. So
Yeah.
that's the hard part.
So I would probably say it's safe to say that maybe just throughout the generations, Jamie's family scattered
Just kind of
more,
scattered.
and
I hate that.
Lallybroch just, I guess, just kind of got left by the wayside until Roger and
Hmm.
Brianna
Got
came
it.
forward. So
Which
yeah,
happens.
yeah.
Okay.
But I don't know. At first I thought, I was like, okay, maybe it's Wendigo Donner coming back. Like, but I was like, no, he wouldn't have known about Lallybroch because
No,
that was
it
all in
it
North
has to be
Carolina. So
right.
I don't know who it could be to sit there, and obviously he's been coming more than once for, you know, Jimmy to mention it. This is not just a one-time thing, like, oh, the knuckle of V, we saw one time. I think it's a recurring thing, or at least it was in the books where it was somebody who was coming regularly. But um I think Roger and Brianna thought that Jim was just kind of making it up at first because, of course, he missed everything and he couldn't talk about,
Mm-hmm. His
granddad.
imagination.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know, but it's like I'm trying to speculate. And just from what we know about time travel and the people that we know, I feel like I was like, okay, so it can't be Claire, it's not Brianna, it's not Roger. Those three, definitely not. Aside from Gaylus Duncan, I mean, it could be one of her other descendants because Roger is a descendant of hers. So it could
Yes.
have, but I don't.
Mm-hmm. What if it's or it could be Roger's dad?
Oh, that's a good theory. Could
It
be.
could be
I still don't
because
know if
you
I
you
think
said that he's missing, but we're figuring out. Well, did they actually say where he is in the books?
far
Like,
as
is
Roger
he
knows,
in the stones or is he missing? Like,
I think far as Roger knows, his father died. But I don't
okay,
think I don't recall the details on that, like whether or not they ever found him or whether he was trapped in the stones. I do remember that there was
because
like
I hear a lot about trapped in the stones, so I'm like, well, maybe he's out of the stone.
could be. I still don't know if I feel like he would say, I will hurt your sister. I will hurt her if you say anything about me, especially if he's figuring out that this is his family. But again, the other thing is, if it's Roger's father, unless he followed them from the Wakefield residence to Lallybroch, I don't see
Hmm.
why he would be there at Lallybroch because he wouldn't know of Roger's connection to Lallybroch
No, but he could have followed.
unless,
You know what I'm saying? He could have followed them.
yeah. And
I
that's
don't
the other
know.
thing too. I was like, how far is the Wakefield residence from Lallybroch? Because for them to be staying in a caravan in front of Lallybroch for 2 years while it's being renovated, I was like, look, we can go stay at the
No,
Wakefield
I think
residence.
it's
We'll
I
just
think
come
it's
up once a
far.
week.
Yeah, it was like a day trip. I think it's far.
Yeah. So, but
Yeah,
I
I
don't
know
know.
that. But the caravan looked nice. I mean, they got it decorated on the outside. So I'm like, okay, so it's taking some time to
two
renovate.
years though, you're in that little thing with little kids. First of all,
But land, look at the land. Once we go outside,
I
it's like the
understand.
people who live in RVs. We
I
just gonna go to sleep in there,
understand. I
and when it rains,
understand. But you are a young married couple. There's like, how do you find private time
you
when
go to the house and lay a blanket down when the kids are sleeping. They've been outside a lot of times, and in that house, in the one room that's renovated. The first room was the kitchen, so they probably been all over that
Oh,
kitchen.
yeah. Could be. Could be.
Look, his office look good. They in that office too on the desk.
That office looks good.
Right. In
It's
the
so
chair.
weird though to think about this is supposed to be Lallybroch and to see it
Mm,
so, for those times modernized. It's
mhm.
really weird because I'm sitting there trying to imagine, like you remember seeing Lallybroch earlier on, and I was just like, okay, so where were those stairs supposed to be? And I know that was where he brought them in to talk to them. So it was so
Mhm.
weird to see no stone, no floors, all of that. And it's like just trying to imagine Jenny coming down those stairs pregnant and standing by the fireplace. It was just it's so strange to think about it like that and to see it the way it is now, you
Right.
know.
Oh, look, remember that secret room in the pantry?
Mm-hmm.
That works.
Yes,
And
what
you got
was it?
light.
Because that's the place where Jimmy locked Amanda, right?
Uh-huh. So they got plenty of spaces.
This is true. But I'm
There
sorry.
plenty of spaces.
I'm not trying to have relations on a stone floor. That's just that can't be comfortable. They have no well, now
It's
they
not. I
don't.
didn't say they were laying.
But okay, we're gonna leave Brianna and
Okay.
Roger
Oh
alone for a little
yes.
bit. because we got some other
Well,
stuff.
no, let's go.
Oh,
I loved how she got her job.
oh yes. Okay, yes. Let's go ahead and talk about that, and then we'll go back to the other interesting stuff.
Yeah, I love how she got her job.
She is
It is,
definitely her mother's daughter.
yeah, she is. And it really did take Roger a minute to understand, honey, we're not back in the day. I need you to be a little bit more present. You know, I'm an independent woman. I'm gonna go to work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I don't. It's it's strange seeing it that way, but I think a lot of that for Roger, if you think about it, when he first went back in time for her, he had some of the same struggles because he couldn't really do what he had been doing back in the past. Because how do you go from teaching history to teaching current
Current affairs,
event?
current
Yeah,
events.
without kind of
Yeah.
overstepping. And then, then he got conscripted into the war. And it's like all of that stuff that he learned during the times when he should have been building a career for himself. Now that he's back here, it's like,
What I
what do
do.
you do?
But
Especially,
he's writing. He's writing. But he did say, and it's fine. I I I feel like sometimes we give people a hard time sometimes when they say that they a touch. He said I'm a bit old fashioned.
mm-hmm, yeah,
Because you can integrate those two. He's a little old fashioned. That's okay. He just feels like he should be able to support them.
yeah.
But
But I
it's
think
okay, honey.
the other
Go
thing
find the
is,
gold, and you can support her.
you know what? But I think the kind of double meaning behind that, I'm old fashioned.
Mm-hmm.
Roger was a modern guy and he went backwards 200 years, and
Mm-hmm.
he had to live amongst men in that time. And even though, yes, Brianna was still a little more independent than the women of
Mm-hmm.
that time, he still had not necessarily an image, he still had responsibilities and he still had expectations that he was expected to maintain for that time period. And so I think him
And this
saying
one
it's old
too.
fashioned, yeah, yeah,
And this
yeah.
one too, because we're not like it's current. We're not in the present. So
No.
you got to go back to where they are, and
Mm-hmm.
he should be supporting his,
Yeah,
family. But he has a highly, highly strong,
he does.
independent woman.
He does. But also, how do you support them when the one thing you were so confident about doing, your faith has now been shaken? So it's kind of like you're coming back to this thing probably like close to your 30s now, if he's not already 30, or maybe a little bit older than that.
Older.
And oh yeah, because Claire's 61, that means they are close to 40 now. But you
Mm-hmm.
have to come back to a time, and now you have to re you have to figure out who you are again, because you had
Again,
this
because you can't be a
design about
pastor.
being a pastor, and now your faith is
Mm-hmm.
shaken because you're like, hey, if God existed, if God was in control, then how were we able to do this? How were we able to change the past so that your parents survived? And because they have no clue that the obituary was placed in error. So
Mm-hmm.
technically speaking, they probably didn't change anything,
That
because
is true. We
Roger
didn't
has
think
no
about
way of
that.
knowing that.
No.
Roger has no way of knowing that. So it's
But
kind of like,
honestly, they didn't change it. It was always going to happen this way. That's the whole problem with time travel. It was always going to happen this way.
right,
Those
but
big
that's what
events.
I'm saying. He
Yeah.
he
But
thinks that they
they don't know
changed
that.
it because, one, they didn't know what date the obituary was.
Mm-hmm.
They just remember that Jamie and Claire died in a fire. Well, the fire happened and they didn't die. So he's just automatically assuming, oh, hey, we changed it,
You changed it.
you know, not realizing, oh, the obituary was actually placed after the fire because someone else thought that
Thought
they
they
had
were
died.
dead.
Yeah.
Right.
So
And you were always going to go back. And Brianna was always going to make that match that she shouldn't have made.
and Claire was gonna
And the
make that
car
detour.
and the airplane. But that's
Right.
another day or time. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll talk about that another. But yeah, so it I don't know. Roger's gonna have to figure some stuff out. Like, he probably could go back to teaching, but he's been gone for so long, he's probably going to have to go back to school at least for a little bit. He's going to have to, again, they've been back for roughly 2 years, maybe close to 3 years at this point. But still, is that enough time for you to catch up on everything and then
No.
fall back into the role that you were in before you left? You have a whole different set of life experience now than when you were here before. And it's kind of like, how do you go and teach what you're supposed to teach when you have insider knowledge of other things that happen that may not be public knowledge, that may not be in history books? How do you go and integrate what you know with what you're supposed to teach and still, one, keep yourself safe? Because of course, if you start saying some things that you may not need to be saying, people are going to start looking at you like, okay, something is wrong.
Yeah, we got to commit him.
Yeah. So it's one of those things where I guess Roger's going to have to figure it out. But in the meantime, Brianna knows what she wants to do. She's been knowing what she wanted to do. And even when she was at the Ridge, she was doing those things. She was trying to figure out how to do, like, not necessarily indoor plumbing, but, try to figure out a way to get them water and to do this and to do that. So this is kind of right up her alley. But yeah, let's talk about that interview. Because when it happens, when she said she had a job interview and she was sitting there and the guy was sitting there eating a sandwich. And what did he say? If you could, don't you want to go get us some coffee? If you could follow those directions, you're going to do good here. I was like, whatever job she's applying for, I don't see that working out at all.
No, it's not.
Because of the way that he was talking to her. And then when she was looking at the cafeteria lady, like, can you believe this? The cafeteria lady is looking at her like, this is what happens. This is normal. Like, she wasn't bothered by it. Then when Brianna sits down and she gives him her resume, and she was like, so here are my qualifications. I've studied this. I've done this work, and blah, 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 blah. And he was looking at her. He was like, hold up. I think there's a misunderstanding. We're needing a secretary. She was like, okay, that's all well and good, but
that's not what I'm applying for.
That's not what I'm here for. I'm here for the plant inspector position. It's like, but you can't do that. You're a woman. She said, and the way that she said, because
I loved it.
It was like she was confident in what she was going to ask, but at the same time, I think she was trying to figure out, okay, is this the right thing for me to do? Like, she was kind of, I don't want to say hesitant, but it's like she's trying to be tactful, but she's also trying to say, you're not about to push me away. And it just came across, she was like, so what part of this job requires you to have a penis? And the guy was like, what? And
like, did she just say that to me?
He was looking around like, did anybody else hear her say it? And then he was like, it's a rough job, you know.
And she did it with a look on her face like, I'm really asking you. Because like, maybe I read the description of the job wrong. Like, what requires you to have.
Right. Like, this is not rhetorical. And he was like, oh, this job is rough. And, the guys,
the men,
blah, blah, blah. And she was like, so you mean to tell me that you hire guys that will assault women? And he was like, no. I was like, she is definitely her mother's daughter. Because she is just telling him, and he's just looking so uncomfortable. Like, everything that he's saying, she's rebutting. And then she was like, oh, okay, so while we're here, let me tell you that I saw you had water coming out the spillway over the dam, and it should be doing this, and it should be doing that, and that means that this is wrong, and blah, 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 blah. And, if you give me a moment, I can tell you what's wrong with it. I can tell you how to fix it efficiently. And, he was just looking at her like, what else can I say?
Clearly, you need to give her the job.
Right. Because after all of that, she's clearly proven that she knows what she's doing.
And she can handle the men.
We'll see. We'll see. But I mean, for now, she can handle him.
Right.
But yeah,
I'm kind of feeling like she can handle the men if you can handle the men back in the day.
this is true.
So you know what I'm saying? So like, honey, I've been through a lot. Nah, I can handle this job.
Mm-hmm. But
They're not
this
gonna
is
scare me off.
true. No, they're not. But she didn't even have that problem back. Well, I will say this too. Aside from Stephen Bonnet, nobody really messed with her like that.
No, because she had a lot of confidence beforehand. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, we can say all we want to say about her dad,
Mm-hmm.
but he did a lot with her. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I guess, like you said, he knew that she was gonna go back
Mm-hmm.
because he
Prepared
because I
her.
don't feel like he prepared her. Because I'm gonna be honest with you, we can all disagree or agree. I don't know how it's written in the books. I don't feel like she was really close to her mom until after the truth came out.
Yeah, we talked about that
We thought,
because
okay, so we're all clear on their
yeah,
relationship was exchanged. So she
it
didn't.
was
She's like
strained.
her
Yeah.
mother. She's like her mother. She's already was strong,
Mm-hmm.
but her dad also like continued to foster and encourage that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
Because I mean, Claire, like I said, a couple of episodes ago, she could only I feel like there was that wall between her and Brianna because, of course, one, you look at Brianna, you see Jamie.
mhm.
And this is somebody that you loved so desperately, so deeply, so like completely, and you can't even talk about it because of the agreement you made with Frank.
Mhm.
So then I feel like not only because she looked like Jamie, but also because she may have been compelled to tell Brianna the truth at any moment. And so instead of doing that, she's just like, okay, you know what? And I don't think it's something she did on
No,
purpose.
and then input and then pursuing her career, she just she just went
Mm-hmm.
full steam ahead too. You
Yep.
know what I'm saying? And she knew she was being taken care of with Frank. I don't think it was purpose, but she just had a little distance with her daughter.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And that happens.
But I
So
think in a sense that also made Brianna tougher too,
mhm.
because she did have to kind of stand up for herself in a lot of things. And then you go 200 years into the past and you have a father like Jamie Fraser
Yeah.
who's going to, one, also teach you about what you need to survive back then, and two, is not going to let anybody touch her, you
Mhm.
know. And then she had Roger as well. So, yeah, what was it Roger said? He said, I'm not worried about you. I'm worried about the men that you're going to be working for because they don't know what they have coming.
Mm-mm.
And
They
that's
don't because they think, oh, is she a regular woman? Nah. Nope.
and she's probably going to be smaller than the rest of them. Like they'll probably have some big dudes working, and then she's going to
Mhm.
be this little thing, and they're going to be like, "Are we supposed to take orders from her?" No, because that's how it is. Especially this is
Yep.
the 1980s. Yeah, it's probably going to be.
Yep. So we're about to see.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, that was a very fun interview. I don't think you'll have many interviews like that. That was a fun one to
No.
watch. And that dude, he just looked like, what the hell to say?
No, you can in real life, we're not gonna have one of those interviews because we're not gonna get a job.
Nope. They're gonna be like, oh yeah, let me go
It
find
worked for
somebody who's
her.
gonna be a little more submissive or a little bit
Yes.
more whatever, whatever. Yeah.
Especially when you can't ask a person. Just imagine you being interviewed and ask, so what part of the job requires a penis? Do you already know? Go ahead and walk
Right.
away.
Right. Because in this day and age, you ask somebody that, they're probably gonna be like, oh, that's a walking HR violation. Let me not. Let me
Because
not.
they will find some things
Mm-hmm. Not
that
only
we're doing
that,
wrong.
but they'll probably be like, oh, she's the type of person who's going to say anything. And yeah, they're not going to want to deal with that.
No. And see when there's injustices and point them out. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
Yep. Let's see. Anything else we need to discuss about the future before we go back to the past? Because I really want to talk about Mr.
No,
Ninth
the future is
Earl
good.
of Ellesmere.
The future is good.
Okay, the future is good. So let's talk about the ninth Earl of Ellesmere, Mr. William Ransom. So at the beginning of the episode, we see him and his cousin, Hal's son, which I was like, where the hell is Hal? You know, Lord John's brother.
Uh-huh.
I didn't know he was still alive, but apparently he is. And his son is also part of the army. He's getting shipped out to New York. And William is not yet. I don't think he's been assigned anywhere. But while they're out, drinking, first of all, the cousin puking his guts out, mouth full of vomit stuff, and you're gonna pull out your flask and share your alcohol with this same
Ugh.
person. I was like, you know what? This is why people back in the 1700s got sick and died so much.
Yeah.
Like, I understand alcohol is supposed to kill germs, but ew, he literally just finished throwing up.
Ugh.
Anyway, ugh. So they come around the corner and there's a commotion because one of the British officers has been in a whorehouse and he has kicked the whore out onto the street because he says she has the pox and tried to give it to him. Now, of course, she claims that she didn't know. And he is being very cruel to her and being encouraged to do it by his other soldiers, while
Mm-hmm.
William and his cousin kind of look on in horror. That is the one thing I will say. William had a look of horror on his face. So I was like, okay, we see that
He
he is
did.
not like the other British soldiers. So this dude sets this woman on fire, and everybody else is just sitting there chanting let her burn, or whatever it was they were chanting. William is the only person who comes to her aid. He takes off his coat, he puts it on her, but it's a little too late because the fire has raged just that much and she's like severely injured. So then he gets ready to fight the person who set her on fire. And of course, commanding officer comes out and the madam of the whorehouse comes out and they have to break up the fight. But immediately I was like, okay, so I feel like from the beginning you're showing us who William is as a person, because at this
Right. That's
point
what I thought
we've
too.
only
Mm.
even we have only met him as a child, and then that brief introduction with him and Lord John when Brianna meets him. So you're showing us this is a man who is compassionate. This is a man who is not cruel, very much like his birth father and very much like Lord John, you know?
Right. And you had to, because that doesn't, just because your dad is compassionate and kind, the one
Doesn't
that's raising you,
necessarily
Lord John, doesn't mean that you are. So we
no,
needed to see what type
of
of
person.
character he is. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So he is a loyal soldier to Britain. And the next day, he is called by his commanding officer to complete a task. The commanding officer even kind of, praises him for what he did. He said, I heard that there was some trouble last night. I also heard only one soldier stepped in. And, William was like, it didn't do much good because apparently she died. But
Mm-hmm.
the commanding officer says to him, he was like, but it takes a strong person or a brave person to stand up to your fellow soldiers, because everybody else knows. I can guarantee you, if it wasn't for William's title, they probably would have jumped him that night
Mm-hmm.
for stepping in, for confronting the other soldier. They probably would have attacked him. They probably would have beaten him. But because he is who he is, they're not going to touch him. Not to
No, they're
mention
not.
who his dad is. They're not going to
Yeah.
touch him.
Nope, they're not.
So I kind of feel like the mission that the officer gave to William, I feel like, yes, you gave it to him because of the type of character he has, where that he is loyal, He is strong. He is going to do what he's supposed to do. But I also feel like you did it to kind of get him away from those other people as well.
Right.
So that kind of thing won't happen. But he gives William 3 missives, and he's like, they're supposed to go to these 3 people. Don't look at the contents, and their names will not be on it. So you have to memorize the names. So William takes off on his horse to go to, I think it was Virginia, where he's supposed to deliver these letters. Now, while he's getting ready, while he's doing this, he comes across a snake in the road, and his horse gets startled and bucks him off the horse. He rolls down the hill, and as he's rolling, a stick embeds itself in his arm. I no, and I was looking at that like, oh my God, that's so gross, and looking at his wound, and that's so gross. And I was sitting here thinking to myself, Hanako, you watch The Walking Dead every fucking week, and this is gross.
I thought the same thing though. I was like,
Oh, okay.
ooh, his arm, that stick.
Yeah, it looked painful.
Well,
So
because with everything that happens in The Walking Dead, you're like, okay. But this is something like literally I can go outside and stumble and that can happen to me.
mm-hmm. And not
So it
only
was a little
that,
bit more realistic.
and not
So that
only
like that
that,
literally can
he's
happen.
doing it in a time where they don't have antibiotics. He doesn't
Yes,
have
I was
access to Claire's penicillin.
and
Well,
I'm like,
yeah,
pull the stick out, dude. Pull it out. Pull the stick out.
pulled it out and wrapped his arm. Now
Oh,
I would give it to him. He kept going on his mission through the great dismal swamp. He kept going. He kept on with his mission on foot because his horse bolted after the whole snake incident. But of course, you can see him as he's going through, he's getting weaker and weaker from the blood loss, or maybe at this point his arm has gotten infected or something like that. So he's standing by the stream and he hears something. And he turns around and it's Ian and Rollo, because Ian, like he told Jamie, he went to go treat with, was it the Squani, he said, Indians, where he was going to try
mm-hmm.
to say, hey, you guys come fight on our side instead of on the British side. So Ian comes to him and they have a little conversation, and William is proud, but he's also hurt. So he has to ask for help. He's asking for food and drink. And Ian was like, you don't look like you have any money. He was like, I don't have any now, but I can get you some. And then, that's when Ian sees the wound and he asks him his name. And when he says William Ransom, Ian's like, oh,
Oh, I know who
cousin.
you are.
Hi, cousin.
Right. Yeah.
So he does tell William that, Jamie is his uncle and that he knows Lord John. He also said, yeah, I met you before too when you came to Fraser's Ridge. That was so long ago. And William is like, I'm sorry, I don't remember. So they start having conversations about different things. And he asked William asked Ian about his time with the Mohawk. And they come to a conversation where they're talking about death, because William, of course, is thinking that he's probably going to die because of this infection. And it's so weird because he's saying this, and then at the same time he's telling Ian he doesn't need a doctor, because Ian is like, we got to find you a doctor. I don't need a doctor. Ian was like, yeah, okay, we'll
Like, yeah,
see.
you need a doctor.
So Ian gets to work cleaning out the wound because it still has wood splinters in it, which I'm like, what, you take those out? You can walk around for how long with wood
But
splinters?
you wasn't even thinking that. You just took the big chunk out and was like, okay, I'm good. Wrap it up and keep going.
But the moment that your arm got this big and is red like your uniform, something should have told you to look at that wound and see what was going on. But I guess they don't do medical. I guess they don't do first aid 101 in
No,
British soldier training.
no.
So they're having a conversation about death songs, and Ian was telling him about death songs that the Mohawk do when someone comes to the end of their life, and they sing songs about them. And so William starts trying to to compose his own death song, even though, as he says, he doesn't have enough life experience to put in a death song. So he names his full name, William Clarence, whatever, whatever, whatever. And then he says, no, that's too long. And then he says his name again, William James. And Ian just kind of looks at him, and I was like, wait, name Jamie gave him when he made him a quote unquote stinking papist. And he really
Yes.
said, I want a papist name too. And Jamie named him William James. I was like, you don't remember most of the other stuff, but you remember that. Like,
Right. But then why would Ian look like that's interesting? Because he did look
because
like
he had
that's
the name
interesting.
James. Because
Oh,
remember,
okay.
William doesn't know that Jamie is his father.
Oh, because the James. Okay, yeah. I didn't think
James.
about it.
That would have because if you
That
say
was
your name is,
obvious. I wasn't thinking about it.
yeah, if you say your name is William Clarence, blah 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 blah, all this other stuff, and then
But
all of
you
a sudden
chose
say, okay, my short name is William James.
William
Like,
James.
why would you come up with the name James just
Mm,
all of a sudden? So I think at that point, Ian really knew, like, oh, okay, so Uncle gave him that name, even if William does not remember that,
yeah.
but he does remember that name. And I was just like, oh, that to me, that was I don't know, it kind of touched me because every time that we've seen William, like even the time when he came to Fraser's Ridge, that wasn't that long after Jamie left Hellwater. It may have been a
Mm,
few years, but it shouldn't have been long enough that William wouldn't have remembered him. And even though, yes, in that episode when we saw them meet again, he was like, was your name Mac? Did you used to be the stableman or the groom at, Hellwater? Do you know me? Do you remember me? That sort of thing. It's like, even though he doesn't remember certain things, like he didn't remember meeting Ian at Fraser's Ridge, and there's only a few other things that he does remember from that time. Clearly that stuck out. So I was like, okay. I wonder now that he's older, like, will he start putting things together? If it start like, because even though, granted, he does not look exactly like Jamie, because of course you would literally have to find a twin of Sam Hewen. I feel like they did good with the casting. He does have enough of a look that would make you think, if you put him and Jamie together, you would probably look and be like, something about the way he carries himself,
yeah.
and I know that's probably conscious on the
He's
actor's
a
part, so that he can,
he's a
yeah,
big boy too.
yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. But I was just like, when he said William James, I was like, oh, okay. And then Ian is sitting there like, okay, I'm sitting here treating my cousin, and I can't say that you're my cousin, but it's one of those things where I think Ian feels like, okay, even though you are a red coat, I have an obligation to you because you are family. So he
To take care of.
does, yeah. So he does take William um to a town where he has heard that there is a doctor. And this is where we meet the hunters. And I was like, okay. The moment Miss Hunter stepped outside and she started talking, the way she looked at Ian and the way he looked at her, I was like, oh, this is going to be Ian's happy
Yeah, I
ending.
was like, sparkles,
Right,
chemistry.
right.
I'm excited.
So, and I don't know anything about the hunters from the book. I don't know anything. I haven't heard anything. So I'm just speculating, but I was like, there was a look that passed there. There's
Right.
like
And they wanted
instant.
us to see it because
Mm-hmm.
they had both had a pause looking at each other like, oh, like you're familiar.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like there's a connection.
Right.
And Rachel couldn't even speak though. Rachel came out, got the horse and looked at Ian. Ian looked at her. Oh.
Yeah. So
So
I thought it was interesting. I was like, okay, so you guys are showing us who Ian's future wife is. Okay, cool. I don't know
And
if this
that's
is it. I don't know if this is his future wife. I'm just speculating, like I said, because of the look. I'm like, yeah, there's about to be something here.
I was too. And then I was thinking, okay, now we have diverted to one of my other romance novels because by the end of the episode, Rachel was a tad bit friendly
With William.
with
But you know
William.
what? Okay, so I
And
was
William flirts with everyone, I realized, because he was halfway flirting with his sister and he was flirting with Rachel. So William's a flirt. William is just charismatic and
he's very
flirting
charismatic.
when the women come around.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he comes by it honestly.
Yeah, he does. That's what I'm saying. So
Because
he's like,
even with Lord John, even though we know Lord John is gay and we
mm-hmm.
know that he has no interest in the women, the
He's
times
a
that we have
charmer too.
seen him, yes, the women have
He's a
all been
charmer.
like when he came to Brianna's rescue and offered to marry her, like all the men in the room were pissed. All the women in the room were like, oh my God, like he's choosing her.
Yeah.
This he's choosing her. And then what was the other instant? I think it was Jacosta's wedding where he was there dancing and there were some women looking like, oh Lord John.
Right.
So
So
yes, William comes
he
by
got it
it.
honest. Right.
He
So
has it honestly.
he was kind of flirting with, Rachel too at the end when she was,
Right.
shaving his face.
But
So I was like, wait a second, is this gonna be a love triangle?
well, I was thinking about that too, because when they come, at this point, William is pretty much he's in bad shape. And
Mm-hmm.
when Ian leaves, like, okay, they go through this whole thing where they have William on the table and they think they're going to have to amputate his arm because the infection is that bad.
That was funny. That was
Because
hilarious. He
William
was
was
like,
like,
I don't think so. You're not cutting my arm off.
I would rather die than you cut my arm off. And Ian was like, you are not about to have my uncle slit my throat because I let his son die. Absolutely the fuck not. You are going to get this arm cut off and you are going to live to fight another day.
Right. This
And
is
I
not
don't,
it for you, sir.
right. And I don't know if it was just that he was weak or if it was just it could have been just the intensity of Ian. But at some point, William is like, okay, do what you got to do. And just as Denzel is about to cut the arm off, he touches it and all of this pus starts oozing. He was like,
Ugh,
oh, okay, so we don't have to cut his arm off now because it's draining. We can get all this out and we can treat it. And again, I'm looking at this pus and I was like,
that is nasty.
that is nasty, but I watch The Walking Dead every week. But that is still nasty. Yeah. I
It's
had that thought.
different. Look, it's different. It
So,
is so different.
right. So while William is recovering, that's when Ian takes his lead. He
Mm-hmm.
leaves, he takes the horse, he leaves some money for William for them to care for William. And you can kind of see this, like you said, this little flirtation between him and Rachel. And then later on in the episode, you do see a flirtation with her and William. But I think depending on how much time has elapsed, that could explain that because one, Ian has left. She doesn't think she's going to see Ian again. So, yeah, he was cute to flirt with, but I may never run across his path again. And as far as we can tell, it's just her and her brother there in the
Mm-hmm.
house. They're Quakers and she probably doesn't have many interactions with men. So, of course, you see a good-looking man come, or rather you see two of them come in at the
Two
same
of them
time.
in the same day.
You be like, ooh, won the lottery. And then one of
Right.
them leaves. And then here's the other one. And once he's all cleaned up and not oozing of stinking pus,
He look good.
he's charming. He's charismatic. Oh, okay. If this is what I have to work with, I can flirt with this too. So I don't know if it's going to be a love triangle. I don't know what's going to happen. Like I said, I don't know anything about the hunters from the books, but I just kind of felt like, especially because you in particular have been saying that you need Ian to have his happily ever after, that this is probably going to be the start of that. But then that also makes me worry because
Yes.
of what Archbug said to him.
Yes.
I'll come for you when you have something to lose, when you have something precious to lose. And I was like, dude, because even
Right. And
though
that
we
was just
only
like, wasn't that just last episode for us?
mm-hmm,
And then now this episode, you introduce
mm-hmm.
a woman
And I
that
was like,
possibly could be
right.
his wife.
And even though we just met them, I like the hunters already.
I do too. I
I
do.
like them.
I do too. So
It's
now I'm
strange.
like, oh no.
It's strange for me hearing a white man with the name Denzel, though, because the only one I know is Denzel Washington. And I keep thinking about the interview. He did an interview on the Graham Norton show, I think it was,
And you said
where
what is
he,
real, how to really say his
yes, how
name.
you really say his name, and it's Denzel. And I
So,
was just like,
hmm
oh, that's interesting, but okay, whatever. But
And
obviously,
I feel like it was a woman who said Denzel because they just like saying his name out
well,
instead of just saying Denzel.
he said his mother, or rather, he made it Denzel because his father is also Denzel. So whenever his mom would call for Denzel, both of them would respond.
With come on,
So
okay,
he kind of sort of changed the pronunciation so that they could differentiate
yeah,
between who.
because
So,
it's just so interesting, Denzel
mm-hmm,
and Denzel,
mm-hmm. You so,
Denzel.
right.
You were right on the point.
Mm-hmm,
Denzel.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
hmm
Yep,
Yeah.
yep.
Okay. I
But
just say probably one of
anyway,
his girlfriends said that name long. Denzel. He's like, oh, I like that. Okay, I'm gonna have my mom call me that. It's a little
you
different
know
from my
what?
dad.
Stop. But
So yeah, it
yeah,
was interesting. But I do like the hunters, though.
you
I
do.
do.
I
hmm
do. They seem like they are the type of people who and I don't know much about Quaker religion, so I don't know what their beliefs are and how they do things, but these two characters, they seem like they are very steadfast in who they are and very
hmm
uncompromising in who they are. Um but also it's nice to come across some strangers who don't automatically try to kill you or think that you're doing, just they just seem genuinely nice. And like, even though they didn't know what was going on, I mean, think about it. You have someone who looks like a Mohawk Indian and you have a red coat coming to your house. You don't know what the situation is. I'm sure you already know that there's talk of war. So you don't know what's going on. He could have been, shot, whatever, could be bringing trouble to your door, but they still opened up their home to help him. And then when Ian left him, it wasn't like, oh, you have to take him with you. No, we'll take care of him until it's time for him to,
hmm
to leave or whatever. So, yeah, I like them. I'm very interested to see how this thing with Rachel is gonna go
I
with
am too.
I gotta say William for now because again Ian has left, but that would be interesting to see how that happens because it almost reminds me of it kind of reminds me a little bit of Lizzie with the twins, like the way that they were kind of sneaking those looks at each other
Yeah,
and
it,
so
it
we were
did
like, so which twin is she going to end up with, not knowing that she was going to end up with both of them, but
with both of them.
yeah, so it's it's going to be interesting to see what the hunters and in particular Rachel bring to the show. Like I said, I really do want this to be like Ian's happily ever after because he deserves it. But yeah, that's going to be interesting. But it's also nice to have another doctor on the show.
Yes.
So one who seems like he knows what he's doing.
Right. So, and then and the great, and she's a great assistant too. So,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
someone
So
else to learn.
I want to know. I want to know
But
their
that,
backstory
so
though.
I'm thinking, um, Well, we're gonna have to see the hunters again because it's just kind of hard for you just to throw them in here and then they're gone once William goes about his way to
Yeah.
deliver his papers.
Yeah, no. I think they're going to be around for a minute.
Okay.
Yeah, at least for a few episodes, if anything. Like I said,
Because
I
you don't
don't
know if they're
know
in the
what
books or not.
I think they are. That's what I was saying. I haven't read it, but I think they are. And I think she does have a relationship with Ian. I don't know if it's the happily ever after type, but I do think that
I
there
will
is
take anything right now for him. I'm desperate for love for Ian. I don't care. We had to do the Bachelor, and this is just one of them. And we get another. I don't care. He deserves some love and some peace,
he does. He
and to
does.
live on a farm. I don't care.
I mean, they had a
I'm
nice
telling you right now. I
they
am
got a
telling
nice
you,
cabin. They had a
they
nice
do.
cabin. They got the water right in front of them.
But I'm telling you right now, something happened to Ian. I swear to you, I will no longer be on this podcast. I will burn every book. Something better not happen to him.
Ooh. I can't say whether or not something does or doesn't because I
Because I
honestly don't know.
understand Jamie and Claire have lived a full life and they found love. And whatever ending we get, we gonna get, and I'm gonna be okay with that. But Ian has been through some shit.
You saying it with your chest.
So I need him to be okay at the end. I
Oh,
live an old man with a lot of kids. I just need that.
yeah.
That's all I need. That's what I need for him.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's what I'm sitting here looking right now. So that's how Ian got him to agree to the amputation. He was like, no, we still need a proper. You can't die. We still need a proper death song for you. You ain't did shit yet.
Oh yeah.
But also because when he told them they couldn't amputate, Rachel was like, then give thyself off thy table. She was like, oh, if we can't save your life, you can get the hell on because we're not gonna have you just sit here and die. Oh, that pus. It's just so gross. It's so gross. But
That
yeah.
was funny. Like, okay, if we're not going to attempt this, then you can just move around, move about your business, get on
Yep.
your horse and leave, and we clean up for the
Right.
next person.
Right. Get off my table. Stop putting your germs on my table. We gotta eat later on. Oh goodness. But yeah, so the little flirtiness after Ian leaves, she's sitting there shaving William. And yeah, they're having the conversation. I was sitting there looking, I was like, yeah, this looks like it's gonna be a thing too. But
Right. That's why I was like, I'm confused.
I'm very confused. Like, again, I can understand William is a nice looking man, and you think that
Yeah,
you're
but
not gonna
you
see
had
Ian.
that's true, but you had a what you think a bad boy show up with a wolf, and
Yeah.
then you have the good boy in a uniform
Mhm.
who
Well,
has a uniform. You ain't seen the uniform yet, but once you cleaned him up, you realize he got some money.
oh yeah, no, because at this point they don't know that William is a soldier.
No, but she
Yeah.
know he has some money that he comes from something. Because I
Yeah.
think she kind of said it like she said something that indicate like, oh, okay, you know, you're about business,
Right.
you're something or whatnot. And then you got Ian, the bad boy with the wolf.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Nah, I got a dog, but hey,
Right. Now here's the
he's
other
my favorite type of
interesting.
dog.
He is. He's so gorgeous. Now
Yes.
here's the other very interesting thing about that shaving scene.
Let me go back
So
to
while she's putting the lather on his face, she tells William, it is a shame that you can't keep your beard. It is of a very striking color. And I'm sitting here looking at his stubble. It's coming in very auburn
yeah,
red.
it is.
So yeah, y'all are about to start putting things into motion because I told you at some point William does find out that Jamie is his father. I don't know where in the books or how far off we are from
Mm-hmm.
that. But I feel like you're giving us all of these things now because you're preparing us for that. So, yeah.
Well, how many episodes do we have this season?
17.
We have 17.
Mm-hmm.
So we have 10 more to go from,
Yes. Yeah, I
because
think it's
I mean, 7 just showed. So we have 10 more. Okay. So
yeah.
then he's going to find out this season.
Wait, the
You
seven
think?
is seven? Okay, yeah. Oh wow.
Yeah.
That's like
I mean, we're doing, wait a
hmm.
minute. We're doing 4 currently right now, episode
Mhm.
4. What is currently out?
No, it's 6 just came out.
6 just came out. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So 11 more.
Yeah, I think
Yes.
so.
William is going to have to find out.
Yeah. Especially because the final season is only 7 episodes, I think.
That's all we need.
Let's
Because
see.
so in this
Oh,
season, this is
16 episodes.
16.
16
Okay, so 10 more. So
mm-hmm.
what we gonna get is that he gonna find out about his dad, and we gonna find that gold.
We're probably not gonna find the gold until the second half of the season because they're splitting the season into
Hanako, don't
two
say
eight
that to me.
episode parts.
Wait a
Huh?
second. Hold on a second. Hold on. So
Yeah,
we have 2 more episodes.
and then we have a hiatus.
For how long?
Um, I don't.
It better be like the other shows that we watch for a month.
From what I am seeing on Google right now, it says the second half later in 2024. So I don't know when in 2024 we are getting them. Yeah.
Okay. Well, we don't go back to the shave. What I was saying was, Rachel has said your speech is better than your clothes, and I can tell you from great caliber.
Oh yeah,
That's how you're
because
presenting yourself, how he
he's
presents himself.
yeah, because he's
Right.
trying to keep from saying who he is
Yeah.
while
But
he's
you can't
asking. Yeah,
hide, but you can't hide up that upbringing that he has. So
yeah, I was gonna say you can't hide that breeding.
right. You gotta throw some slang words in there, sir. And I know he's not.
No, no. But
And you don't
but
hang out in the wilderness, so we clearly know that.
well, that's he's talking to her, and he does talk about the hunting in the Great Dismal Swamp because she does ask how he came to be there or how he knows, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I've hunted there before." Doesn't tell her, "Oh yeah, I own a plantation kind of in these parts," or anything like that. But that's when he starts asking her. He mentions something about, I think he mentions one of the people he's supposed to be looking for, or she does. And he was like, "Oh, is it such and such?" Oh, and he's known, what is it, he is a friend of someone known to me, and he finds out that that person is a rebel. So when she gets off the porch, he's sitting there looking like, why am I delivering something from the commanding officer of the British Army to one of the
Mm-hmm.
rebels? So he starts looking like, so I was like, yeah, at some point, William, you're gonna have to make a choice. I feel like I don't know what those missives were. I don't know what they could have been talks of surrender. They could have been, whatever. Probably had something to do with spying because I think
Yes.
when William was getting the missives, he mentioned something about spying, and or rather the commanding officer mentioned something about spying, and William basically was like, I have no designs to be a spy. I don't want to do it. And what did that guy
Mm-hmm.
say? He said most men who consider themselves soldiers wouldn't. Oh, you know what? He did say most men who consider themselves soldiers wouldn't. Maybe those people are spies. And that's why he said
It
that,
could be.
because they're not soldiers. They're part of the rebellion. Hmm. Okay.
Hmm.
But um, yeah, I like William. What
But
we
some
see of him
flirting
so
vibes
far.
are going on between them. So
Very
I'm
much
just saying.
so. Very much so. And that's what I was saying. I like William. I like what we've seen of him so far. And I
And it,
guess if like if Ian doesn't see Miss Hunter again, see a her and William thing. The good thing is you see chemistry with both of them.
yeah, you do. So it can go either way,
Mm-hmm.
except
So.
it better go to Ian. But that's just, that's how I feel.
You're biased.
I know. But
It's
with
okay.
William, what I noticed from last episode when he met Brianna, I see or 2 episodes ago,
Mm-hmm.
I do see some of that reddish brown. The way they colored his hair, it's there.
It has like an auburn tint to it.
Yeah. So the thing about it is, if he ever just like stands with Jamie or be around him for a minute, he's gonna figure it out because they're gonna have mannerisms they already did when he was younger, to
Mm-hmm.
the point where they would look across the field and be like, "Oh shit,
Yeah.
okay,
What was
we
it?
need
What
to
was it
move."
the grandmother said? She said we said that Willie spends so much time with Mac that he's starting to look like him. And then Jamie happened to see his reflection in the mirror when Willie was cleaning the thing. He was like, "Oh yeah,
Yeah, it's time
it's time for me to
for
go
me to go.
home.
Yeah.
Time for me to go." So, yeah, but yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I have a feeling that red is gonna come out just a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And he something about the way, and again, I don't know if this is because the actor is purposefully doing it or if it's just the way that he is and that's why they cast him. But even just the way he makes some of his facial expressions or the way he holds himself, it's
Mm-hmm.
kind of reminiscent of Jamie,
Yep.
you know. But yeah, that's gonna be interesting.
It will be.
But on the other note, Jamie and Claire and the rebels that he is in command of now, they have arrived at Fort Ticonderoga, which is where Jamie was instructed to go. So I'm like, okay, I guess y'all won't be avoiding this war, or some of the battles at least. Because I know that there's a battle at Fort Ticonderoga, or there's supposed to be something that happens there. Um, but yeah, the American Revolution is on its way.
Yes.
And it's going to be so interesting because you have all these parts like Jamie, Claire, and Ian were planning to go to Scotland so that Jamie wouldn't have to fight against his son because he refuses to fight for the British. And now he literally has been put into a position where if they go to war, he might be on the battlefield
What
across from his son.
I need them just to skip town. Just get on the damn boat.
Okay, but see, the problem is Jamie is still I guess you can say the laird, the
Yeah,
landlord,
he is.
whatever, of
Mm-hmm.
Fraser's Ridge.
Mm-hmm.
And if
So
he
he has to.
skips, that's gonna put everybody else in danger at Fraser's Ridge. And he has to think about the other people. You've got Lizzie there with her babies because she
Mm-hmm.
probably has had her second child by now. You've got the twins, you've got all these other people who Jamie took in, all the fisher folk that are there. So
I know. I just want them to skip town and
and
say they were
plus, you
kidnapped.
you gotta figure that Jamie is tired of being a wanted man at this point.
Right, he is. And it's almost to the point where I could be like, I'm too old to fight in the war.
Well, I guess
Can't say that either because he's not looking. He's
he's not looking
looking
old, and
scrumptious, so he's not looking old at all. So
right, right. And
mm,
when you can be captured by some men, by Richard Brown's men, and you sit there and fight them all, yeah,
yeah, so yeah.
you're not too old to fight.
No, you're
But
not at all.
I it's one of those things where it's like you should have went to a different town. You should have went a different way, but I guess it was gonna happen.
Don't
It's
just
kind of like
walk around at night so no one see you.
right with all that red hair.
Camp on the outskirts of town.
Yeah. But it's kind of like what we were saying with the whole Roger and Brianna thing. If it's meant to happen, if he was supposed to be in that battle, there's nothing that they would be able to do to keep
No.
him from it.
Mm-mm.
Like they tried to go to Scotland, like, okay, look, we're not about to be a part of this, and you
And
see
still,
something intervene. So I feel like he's probably supposed to be a part of this. I hope that doesn't mean that he's going to have to, fight against William or be, I'm hoping that once he does this, whatever he's supposed to do at Fort Ticonderoga, I don't think it's a permanent post, because old dude was kind of like, okay, well, you just need to do this one thing for me, and then you can be on your way. You'll just be delayed. So I'm hoping they keep to that, and Jamie can take his ass to Scotland, because one, I really do want to go back to Scotland and see how everybody is doing. And I know that we are going to Scotland because of the season 7 casting news before they started shooting the season.
yeah, which
I
is going to
do
be the
know that.
second half, though.
Yeah,
That's coming out 2024.
that'll give us some time. Look, that'll give us some time to read.
Oh yeah, that is true. That is true. But then we're not trying to catch up, are we? We're not supposed to surpass what is being on the show.
Yeah, no, we're gonna do our best to be disciplined. We just want to get up to this point. We can get up to this point and just kind of, once we have that little background, we can kind of talk amongst ourselves and be
Okay,
like,
and then we
okay, so
stop. This
this
is
is what we think is gonna happen based on what's happened in the book so far.
okay. We
So
can
we
do
can
that.
do that.
So
Yeah,
that
yeah.
gives us some time. I'm a little
Right.
sad now that I was thinking, ooh, we got 10 more episodes.
Girl, I wish they, but even on network TV or cable TV, even when those shows were doing 22, 23 episode shows, they always took a split in the middle of the season. So
Yeah, for the holidays.
it might be a holiday over there. No. But
Oh
I just,
goodness. So yeah, I understand.
yeah, but I will say this too. As much as I would like to be able to watch the episodes without a break, I'm kind of glad that we do have a break, because that extends how long we have with the
For the
show.
next.
Because
Hmm.
once those 8 episodes air, and then the final season episodes, which is
That's
I
it.
think only 6 or 7, that's it. That's
Hmm.
it. So I don't mind the hiatus a little bit, because it extends how much longer we have
Hmm.
to enjoy with
And it
these
won't be a
characters.
big gap before we get season 8.
Hopefully, yes. It won't be a 400 and how many days was it this time? 455 days or
Hmm.
650. It won't be that. So that'll be a good thing. Oh, speaking of which, so news that came out this week that I happened to see, apparently the prequel series about Jamie's parents has been greenlit. So we will be getting an
Okay.
Outlander spinoff series based on Brian and Ellen Fraser. So
Okay.
now I still wish that we could get more Outlander, because again, she's still writing the 10th book. The 10th book is supposed to be the end of Jamie and Claire's story. So I don't know how they're going to do the final season for Outlander, if they're going to get notes from her as far as what happens, or if they're just going to write their own end. I don't know how that's going to go. But at least we know we're getting more Outlander, at least for, Brian and Ellen. Um, but yeah, I'm okay with the hiatus. So that means this is what episode 4 we're talking about. So we have 4 more episodes to discuss before the hiatus. We do have Dragon Con coming up.
Hmm.
I am going to be on the Outlander show panel at Dragon Con this year again. Yay. So I will get to talk about that. They're not talking about the books on this panel. It's just going to be strictly show, which
Okay.
is cool, because that means I
Hmm.
don't have to sit here and try to rush to read up until this point. But like you said, we're not going to go past where they are in the show, because we don't want to spoil
Right.
ourselves. Even though I've heard like little bits and pieces of spoilers here in there. Oh, the other thing I did see on Twitter is that Meryl Davis confirmed that we will not be seeing Fergus and Marsley this season.
Whatever.
I am so hurt.
I mean, I understand because they're not anywhere where they'll be a part of the story,
Well,
but
they need to come back and be a part of the story. I miss them. I miss them. So, anyway, I think that's all the news I have on that for now because um again they're filming. Well, actually they are not filming right now. I believe Outlander has halted their filming in solidarity with the SAG actors here in the States. So they're not filming right now. So they're kind of like somewhere midway between filming season 8. So I guess that might extend when we get season 8 as well, depending on how long the strike
the strike
goes.
is, yeah.
Yeah. But
Mm-hmm.
so we'll just once this hiatus starts, we'll have to get our fix somehow. You know, they do have another season of Men in Kilts out, so we can
Yeah,
see
I saw
Sam and
that was
Graham
coming
that
out.
way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but um, did we forget anything on the episode?
No, we hit all the parts.
We got that doggone Tom Christie. I tell you, I rewound
That
that
was just so
scene.
cute, though. I mean, it was because the glee
Right. He was so happy.
he was just so happy.
He was like, I thought, I wrote the obituary because I, I didn't have a grave to go to. I wouldn't be able to go to your grave. And I was just like, oh, that's so sweet. But it's so sad in a way, too, because you're in love with a woman who can never be with you or who will never be with you. But
But
I
guess what he
guess,
got though? He got him a kiss.
and you know what? That might have been enough to sustain
That's what
him,
I'm saying. That I think
especially
he's good.
considering his romantic past. He
Yeah.
probably was like, you know what? I'm good. I'm good.
Mm-hmm.
She's safe. She's
Mm-hmm.
happy, and if anything, he knows that Jamie will protect Claire with his life, so he doesn't have to worry about, oh, is she in danger, this, that, and the other. He knows Jamie will protect her, so that's probably the most peaceful thing you can have. At least you know she's not under the ground, and you
Mm-hmm.
can walk around knowing, okay, she's alive, she's breathing, I'm good. So I hope he can find some peace, and I hope he doesn't
Me
fall off
too.
a horse,
Not anymore.
and he can be happy. He can be happy. Now I know there's probably going to be a piece of him that struggles because he doesn't know where Alan is, and he at this point he probably will never find out where Alan is. So that's going to be
Mm-mm.
something I think that'll kind of sit on his conscience or sit on his heart. But I think for the most part, I think Tom Christie is okay. He did right by Jamie and Claire the way he said he would, as far as making sure that they were safe. He did his best to do that. And then when Claire was about to go down or be killed for that crime, he was like, I can't do this because I know it wasn't you. So yeah, okay, bye Tom Christie, that door is closed. So now we have the hunters, we have William becoming a bigger part of the story, and I know that will probably increase with all of the stuff coming up for the American Revolution. We have Jamie, Claire, and
Right.
Ian stuck here for the time being, for the war, and we've got Roger and Brianna in the future trying to figure out what the fuck a knucklevi is, and what is it doing in their house, and why is it eating all the crisps. And you've got Jimmy and Mandy, boy, let me tell you, those two kids, if they not, it's like 1 minute they're fighting and the next minute he's being protective of her. Yeah, these kids are gonna drive them crazy, because even in the beginning when she was like, Mom, Mandy hit me, she won't say sorry. Mandy, apologize. I won't. Roger was like, you will. Sorry. It's like, oh, these kids will drive me nuts. 2 years.
Right.
And
And then you're gonna lock him up. You lock Mandy up in the closet, in the dungeon room. I'm calling it a little dungeon room.
and then she's sitting there like, do it again. What you
And then one day we're gonna find out about the gold too. So
you are gonna keep on about that gold.
what? I just want them to ask him. I mean, damn, just ask your kid instead of just. I wonder if we should ask him now. Like now, it's been a few years. Sure. Mm-hmm. When you're at dinner, you're talking about nothing. Would you just ask him? And instead of just wondering.
Y'all just went through all of your savings and everything to fix up Lallybroch. You're gonna need some money. I mean, I realize that Brianna has a job now, but I can almost guarantee you they are underpaying her for that job.
Mm-hmm.
And then Roger is not doing anything right now, so they probably could. I'm with you at this point. Ask him about the gold.
Mm-hmm. Ask him
about the gold, because then you got to make a trip to North Carolina. You got to go see where Fraser's. But I don't know if I'm ready to go to a future Fraser's Ridge or a 1980s Fraser's Ridge, because we don't know what that looks like. And I just don't know, because I feel like, and I guess that's kind of why Brianna is doing that as well, because if they have to go there,
you'll have to see.
Then you'll have to see the place that you were just in a few years ago and how different it is, and things may be gone, and of course the houses and the settlements are probably no longer there. So that might be a bit too much for her. So I can kind of understand her hesitance on opening that Pandora's box. Mm-hmm. So okay, I'll give her a little leeway on that. We'll just wait. Maybe Michelle, back half of the season, they'll ask him about the gold, and
I just want them to ask. It's okay. We don't even go.
No, because if you ask and you find out about this gold, they're gonna want to go. I would want to go.
I would too. I'd be like, oh, we're gonna take a little trip.
Right. Family vacation.
To the States.
And then also too, if you think about it, if they make that kind of trip going to the States, they're not going to leave the kids with Fiona. They're going to take the kids with them.
Mm-hmm.
And that might be hard for Jim as well, because he'll also have remembered, he'll remember what Fraser's Ridge was, and then for him to see it the way it might be now, that will probably disturb him as well.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so we'll just tell them to wait. Just wait on asking about the gold. It'll be okay, Michelle. It'll be okay.
Okay,
we'll get there
by the end of this season or season 8. Please just have a conversation.
No, I think they would have to do it this season, because I feel like whatever they're doing season 8,
it's something totally. It's got to close it.
It's going to be closing it out.
Yeah, it has to close it.
Yeah, whatever it is that's going on with Jamie and Claire to end their story, I feel like that's what the final episodes will focus on. So, yeah.
And I agree to that. Like we're doing all the stories now, and then 8 just literally is closing it up.
Yeah. So that'll be cool. So we just have to be a little patient.
Okay.
We may have to wait until 2024 to find out about the gold and the Spaniard. Those of y'all listening, if you can see the look on Michelle's face right now.
I don't know if I can, but okay.
Maybe it'll be spring 2024. I mean, because the episodes are already done. I don't see them making us wait another.
When did this season come out?
June.
So maybe next June.
16th.
Maybe next June.
No, don't wait that long.
I don't agree to it either, but I'm just saying.
Only have, so right now we have, what did I say? 6 episodes out, 5 episodes, 6 episodes out. So that means we have 2 more episodes. So that means by the end of July, those episodes will be done. So you got August, September, October, November, December. I would hope that January, February, we would get those new episodes. Y'all don't need to make us wait longer than 6 months for a season that is
No,
already
it's
done.
already, you shouldn't.
So let's keep our fingers crossed. It's going to be January, February. It could be earlier if they want, but I know they're not going to do it during the holidays, because during the holidays you always have special programming and this, that, and the other. So your your um your viewing schedules are disrupted. So I would say probably January.
Okay,
Okay.
I go with that.
Okay. So you have
Okay,
any final
Mm-mm.
thoughts on episode 6?
None.
Just give us the gold and okay. And tell us what's going on with Rachel Hunter and the bachelors on the ridge. The bachelors of the
And it's the
revolution.
Bachelors. Oh yes.
Bachelors
I
of the
don't think it's
revolution.
William's time right now. That's not what William have to go through right now.
It's
He
not
may
his.
fall in love with Rachel for a second, but Rachel belongs to Ian.
Okay, so it's not his time to
It's
shine.
not his time. His time
Okay.
is to figure out, find out about his dad.
Okay. So
He has to
that's
go
gonna,
through that.
yeah, I have a feeling that's gonna be explosive. So with that being said, that's it for our show. You can find us online at www.fandomhybrid.com. We are on social media on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Threads at Fandom Hybrid. You can chat with us on our Discord channel. You can watch our videos on our YouTube channel, and you can listen to us on all major podcast streaming platforms. Thanks for listening. We hope you join the conversation next time.